Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA. Let's go over what has happened to NVIDIA, what we can expect moving forward now that my target got hit, and what I expect next. So if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts in the charts, well, again, I do share my thoughts with my members, constantly posting throughout the day. If you're interested, that link is down below. Again, constantly sharing posts, updates, technical analysis, options flow. For the first tier members, which is just $3 a month. That's all it is, just $3 a month. Gives you access to the first tier, Tesla. If you're interested, constantly sharing thoughts about Tesla there, check it out. Link is below. $5 adds NVIDIA to that. And then $7 total obviously includes Tesla and NVIDIA, but also includes non-Tesla, non-NVIDIA stocks and options and whatnot that I share with other stocks that are worth sharing, that have nice setups that I personally like. Share those with members. And over the weekend, I do chart requests as well with members. But jumping into it, NVIDIA, what is happening with NVIDIA? Absolutely beautiful day. First, I think we should definitely congratulate the stock and anyone that's holding it for the long term, especially. It did close at 3.97 trillion, but it did hit my target of about 165. It got to like 164 and a half, which is a 4 trillion. Very first time in the stock market history, in the US stock market history, that something hit 4 trillion. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. So that's, hey, that is a round of applause. That's beautiful stuff. But unfortunately, now that everyone's celebrating and everyone's excited, I'm back to neutral. I'm not bearish. I'm not bearish. Not yet, at least. Not bearish. But I am personally now back to being in a more neutral state. Because like I said, NVIDIA, 165 roughly was my target, give or take. We pretty much hit it today, right? Now we're at the upper end of the spectrum. We are at the upper end of this rising channel, right? We're very close to the top of it here. We're a little bit extended from the EMAs as well. And this is where, to me, NVIDIA, in terms of just a simple risk versus reward, again, this is from trading. I know people are going to come in here and talk about NVIDIA is the best company ever to hold long-term. Guys, this is not long-term holding. I think long-term holding, you're going to do probably pretty well with yourself holding NVIDIA. Let's be honest here. It's a phenomenal company, phenomenal stock. But on the shorter time frame here, on the shorter, trading perspective, the risk reward for me personally, yeah, it's no longer there. It is no longer there. My target got hit. I'm happy where it is. And this is where, I'm not bearish yet, but this is where I start looking for potential bearish signs of a top, signs of topping signals, whatever, like a bearish candle, bearish reaction, bearish engulfing, bearish piercing, bearish, inverted hammer candle, anything, any bearish scenario. That's what I'm looking for right now. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, great. Again, like I said, I'm in a neutral position. And the reason I'm not bearish is because the stock is still bullish ultimately, right? There's nothing actually bearish about the stock right here, right now. Today's close is not bearish, right? We still have a MACD, we still have stochastic, we still have EMAs. The only concern is the fact that it is a little bit extended, for sure. A little bit extended to the upper end of the spectrum. Not too much, maybe like $3 above, but not too crazy, only about $3, which is like what, 1.3% up or something like that, right? Give or take. Well, to the downside, actually, sorry, it's a bit higher. It's like almost 3%. But nonetheless, it's a little bit extended. But that's like the only bearish thing I would even consider right now. Overall, the stock is still very bullish. And if I'm looking to short NVIDIA, would I short it right here, right now? Absolutely not, right? There's just no reason to. I mean, unless you have your risk reward above like 167, then it's okay, I guess. But the reason I'm neutral is because, again, it hit my target. It's at the upper end of the channel spectrum. Unless it breaks out of this channel to the north side, which, like I've said many times, it could happen, but it's very rare. I never see this happen, or not never, but it's extremely rare for me to see this happen. It's extremely rare for me to see a stock in a rising channel and break out above it to the north side and continue higher like that. Very, 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 very rare. It could happen. But it's not something I would personally rely on, and unless I see it happen. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't sit here and be like, I think it's going to happen. No, that's just not how it works. So that's what I'll be looking for moving forward, right? I'm looking now for potentially topping signals, something like that. Or at the very least, a retracement back down to a more favorable risk reward type situation, entry, whatever, right? And that's how I'm looking at it right now. Now, to the downside, let's say NVIDIA does create some topping signal here, which it hasn't. Like I said, maybe a bearish engulfing, a bearish piercing, an evening star candle pattern, whatever, anything like that. Inverted hammer candle, which I think there's a name for it. I just call it inverted hammer candle, but there's a name for it. Whatever. When I see that, then I'll start turning a bit more bearish. We're not seeing that yet. So that's what I'll be looking for. Something along the lines of that. Again, mainly because we're just near resistance. It's plain and simple. We're very close to a resistance. Now, granted, the stock is still technically bullish. This, like I said, it's not bearish just yet. We could still inch up a little bit higher. maybe closer to like 167. But again, that's not too much higher from here, in my opinion. And the risk is a little bit high when it's this far from the 9 exponential moving average. So hopefully that makes sense. But to the downside, I still see support now sitting closer to 160/158. That $2 range is the most, closest support level. Below that, we have 153. Below that, we have 148/9. And all the way below that, if we come down all the way to the opposite end of the spectrum on the channel here, closer to about 140, 146, 145, depending on how quick it happens. If it happens pretty slowly, could just be, 153. If it happens, a little bit faster, it could be closer to 148, 149, right? We don't know how fast it'll happen. But what I do know is if NVIDIA gets a rejection from here and comes down to the opposite side of the spectrum here on this rising channel, well, this is where I start viewing the risk versus reward to be much more favorable. And that's where I start getting a lot more interested. Right now, up here, short term at least, for further upside, could there be a little bit more? Of course. Is it something I'm willing to personally take? No. Right? And it's just that simple. So let's see how this ultimately plays out. I do believe the stock has had a phenomenal run. It does feel a little bit a little bit hot now for me personally, but let's see how it plays out. If there is a deeper correction, and when I say deeper, I mean closer to the mid to high 140s. Yeah, like I said on the weekly many times, I would expect this general vicinity right around here, which again, 150 to 145, that $5 range, to be support. Pretty strong support as well. Massive resistance here, even here. And now I would expect this area to be a support. Plain and simple, guys. Plain and simple. I think it's not that much more complicated than that. But that's pretty much all I got for you. Not much more to say, but TLDR, I am in a more neutral position. I'm not bearish or bullish, but I am starting to look for bearish signs to emerge near resistance, which is what I expect it to be close to. Could get a little bit more juice to the upside, could get closer to 167 a little bit. That is a possibility still because it is in a rising channel and the top end of the channel is rising. But again, the risk reward up here just isn't there anymore, especially compared to some other opportunities like I see maybe like Apple. Look at Apple. That's not looking like too bad, huh? This is a good hey, this is a freebie. I already shared this with my members. This is a freebie. I'll show you guys where I shared it. Actually, check it out. Let me show you where I shared this with my members. Apple, here, look at this. 4 hours ago, coming back to the emails, I talked about it in the morning as well. Watching for 205 as support, dropping back under 202 will be a concern. And look at this. This is back when it was at 207, right near my support zone. And look where it is now. Look at this. Almost pretty much ticked the bottom on that. Hey, that's tier 3, baby. That's tier 3. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. That's kind of what I got for you. So let me know what you think down below. Take a quick look at options flow on NVIDIA and see if anything is interesting happening here. Options flow is bullish, but, I'm not seeing anything overwhelmingly bullish. Like you would think I would see a little bit more bullishness than this. It's surprisingly mixed here. It's definitely more bullish than bearish. No question about that. But honestly, not as bullish as I would expect it to be considering the move today. So yeah, again, that's just my opinion. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But again, I have nothing riding on this. So if I'm wrong, I lose nothing. So it's all good for me. It's all good in the hood. But anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.